Welcome to the Deep Dive. If you're pushing for better English fluency,
Especially around B1.
especially around that B1 level, yeah, you're probably wondering how to really speed things up.
That's right. You've got a solid foundation, perhaps, but maybe you're looking for those key shifts, those habits that can get you to the next level
Yeah.
faster. We've examined some compelling ideas today.
And the fuel for this deep dive is a really hands-on piece. It's called 5 English Habits That Made Me Fluent Fast.
Right.
It's a personal account, sort of zeroing in on the everyday practices that this person found truly, well, transformative.
And what's great about this source, I think, is its practicality. It's not just theory.
No abstract stuff.
Exactly. It's concrete strategies, things you, the listener, can actually try out pretty much right away.
So our goal here is to really pull out the most useful, maybe even surprising insights from these 5 habits.
Yeah, actionable stuff.
We want to give you techniques you can weave into your own routine to learn English more effectively and, yes, hopefully a bit faster. Okay, let's unpack the first one then. Daily listening time.
Right. This habit, it's presented as a really pivotal change for the author. They talk about this rule. No day without English listening.
A strict rule.
It seems so, and the transformation they describe is quite significant.
Absolutely. They talk about that initial feeling, being completely lost listening to native speakers.
Uh-huh. The speed, mostly.
The speed, the slang that you just don't find in textbooks, those tricky idioms, phrasal verbs. It's a hurdle many learners face, isn't it?
It really is. And I think a key point they make is sticking with it, even when it felt impossible.
Resilience.
Yeah, instead of giving up, they changed their approach.
Right. They started smaller.
Much smaller. Just 5 or 10 minutes, maybe videos on things they actually liked.
Like travel.
Travel, motivational talks, even just simple daily routines. And importantly, stuff with clear pronunciation.
Oh, okay.
The initial goal wasn't understanding everything. Not at all.
Just exposure.
Exactly, just getting the ear used to the sounds, the rhythm of English, not sweating the grammar or vocab at first.
That focus on enjoyable content seems smart. It
Right.
changes listening from a chore.
To something you actually want to do.
Yeah.
And they make this useful distinction between passive and active listening.
Okay. Tell us about that difference.
Well, passive listening, the way they describe it, is kind of letting the language just be there in the background while you're doing other things.
Like cooking or commuting?
Right. Cooking, cleaning, on the bus. You're absorbing the rhythm, the intonation, maybe picking up familiar words, how they connect. It's like building this background familiarity.
So general absorption, not focused.
Not super focused, no. But then there's active listening, which is much more deliberate.
How do they do that?
Their method was listening to the same thing, say, a podcast episode or a YouTube clip 3 times. It's quite structured.
3 times, okay.
First time, just listen. No help. Get the gist. Second time, use English subtitles or a transcript. Now you really dig in. Pause, repeat bits you missed, jot down words you don't know.
Okay, that makes sense. Deconstructing it.
Exactly. Then the third time, subtitles off again. Just listen. See how much more clicks into place.
Wow, that sounds incredibly effective. For understanding, but also for remembering things, I bet.
Definitely. And they mention it helps pronunciation, too.
How so?
Because you're actively listening to sounds, pauses, stresses, and then if you try repeating phrases, you're training your mouth.
Getting the muscles working.
Precisely. And like we said, choosing stuff you actually find interesting. Tony Robbins, business podcasts, whatever, makes it way easier to stick with this kind of focused practice.
And the results they reported are quite telling.
Yeah, things like needing subtitles less over time, starting to actually think in English sometimes.
That's a big one.
Huge. Understanding faster conversations better, feeling more confident speaking just from all that input.
So that immersion time, that daily 15 minutes or more of dedicated listening, It sounds like a small commitment for potentially big returns.
It does. And they also suggest mixing up the sources.
Right. Different types for different benefits.
Exactly. Podcasts for conversational stuff while you walk, YouTube for visuals, audiobooks for longer focus, maybe music with lyrics to remember phrases, even news for more formal language.
A whole ecosystem of listening.
Yeah.
And it sounds quite empowering, too, this idea of directing your own learning.
Very much so. Taking control, not just relying on a teacher or a class schedule, becoming independent.
Right.
And they talk about a ripple effect, how the listening helped other skills.
Like speaking and writing.
Yeah, exactly. Hearing natural phrases apparently started showing up in their writing, and recognizing words by ear made reading easier. It all connects.
It really does. So for someone listening now, what are some concrete first steps based on this habit?
Well, you could try that 3-pass technique. Find a short video or audio clip you like. Listen once without anything. Then again with English subtitles or a transcript. Pausing and maybe noting things down. Then listen one last time without help. And maybe even try saying some phrases out loud, shadowing them.
Right. Shadowing.
It's active. Listening isn't passive here. It trains your ears, your brain, even your mouth. It might feel slow at first, but consistency seems to be the absolute key.
Okay, great first habit. Let's move to number 2. Speaking to yourself every day. Now, this one. It sounds a bit weird, doesn't it?
It definitely sounds unconventional. The author even says it felt odd at first.
I bet.
But the interesting thing is how effective they claim it was.
Yeah.
Surprisingly so.
What was the reason behind it? Just lack of opportunity.
Pretty much. They didn't have regular conversation partners. It wasn't in an English-speaking place, so they sort of had to invent their own practice.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly. Took matters into their own hands, and they started super simple.
How simple?
Just narrating actions out loud. In English, I am brushing my teeth. I am making coffee. Just describing everyday routines, turning them into mini language lessons.
Might feel a bit silly, like you said.
Yeah.
But they just push through that.
Yeah, the key was just doing it. Practice over perfection, even if it meant whispering sometimes in public, apparently. Just getting the words out.
And then it got more complex than just narrating.
Oh, yeah. They started doing imaginary conversations, which is actually quite clever.
Like role-playing.
Kind of. Practicing dialogues for job interviews, chatting with someone, ordering food, even complaints. Playing both parts.
Making it fun, too, I guess.
Making it fun and making it relevant to potential real situations, like a rehearsal.
And it's totally safe, right? No one's judging you.
That's a huge benefit they highlight, overcoming that shyness because, well, who's listening? You can stumble, repeat, mispronounce. No pressure.
No fear of mistakes.
None. And they notice real progress from this. Things like their mouth actually feeling more comfortable forming English words.
Smoother speaking.
Smoother speaking. Recalling words faster because they were actively using them. Even pronunciation improving just from the repetition.
And they also mentioned mimicking native speakers.
Yes. Actively copying phrases they heard from podcasts, movies, whatever. Not just the words, but the tone, the rhythm, the emotion.
Like saying that's a great idea, but trying different intonations.
Exactly like that. To sound less robotic, more natural.
And this all led to more confidence in real conversations.
It makes sense, right? If you've practiced scenarios in your head or even out loud, you feel more prepared, less anxious when it actually happens.
You've already run the lines.
Kind of. And here's a really interesting side effect they mentioned.
Yeah.
Starting to think in English more because of all these internal monologues.
Bypassing translation.
Exactly. Creating that direct link between thought and English output, less translating from your native language in your head, that's a big step towards fluency.
Wow, that internal shift.
Yeah, when your inner voice starts using English, it becomes much more automatic. And they also stress accepting mistakes. It's part of it. The goal isn't perfection right away, it's just getting comfortable.
So, practical tips for someone wanting to try this potentially awkward habit.
Start easy. Maybe narrate your plan for the day out loud in the morning. Today I need to.
Yeah.
Describe what you're doing as you do it. Okay, now I'm opening the fridge. Try those imaginary chats in your head first, maybe out loud when you're alone.
Mimic useful phrases you hear.
It definitely. Repeat things you want to remember. That initial weirdness, it'll probably fade. And the benefits, it's free, easy, always available, seem pretty powerful.
It's like practice for anything physical, really.
Yeah, they compare it to playing an instrument or riding a bike. You have to actually do it.
Can't just read about it.
Nope. So the encouragement is speak out loud, don't worry too much about errors initially, and just see each word spoken as progress.
Okay, habit 3. Using the 1 word a day rule. This sounds almost too simple.
It does, doesn't it? But again, the author swears by it, says it works. The idea isn't about quantity, like memorizing huge lists.
Which rarely works anyway.
Right. This is about focus. One new word, but really understanding it, remembering it, and crucially, using it.
Active use is key.
Consistency and active use, yeah. That seems to be the secret sauce.
And they emphasize choosing relevant words.
Very much so. Words that are actually useful to you personally. They gave the example of learning curious, and then making a point to actually use curious during that day. In thoughts, maybe in writing, maybe even saying it.
Making it stick.
And really understanding it through context. Not just the definition, using it in different sentences.
Like their examples.
Yeah, like, I am curious about new cultures. She is a curious child. The cat gave the toy a curious look. Seeing how it works in different ways.
So it's deeper than just flashcards.
Much deeper. Because that active use is what helps lock it in. You have to retrieve it and apply it.
And over time, 1 word a day adds up.
It does. Steadily building vocabulary without feeling overwhelmed. It's focused learning plus consistent use, not just rote memorization, which often fades.
Right, you forget those lists so quickly.
Because you haven't used the words. Using them moves them into long-term memory. They become integrated.
They mentioned an example with challenge.
Yeah, learning challenge, and then noticing how it just started popping up naturally in their own speech over time. It became part of their active toolkit.
And choosing words based on interests takes motivation.
Absolutely. If you're into business, maybe learn networking. If you love travel, maybe curious or explore, it makes it engaging.
So you build a vocabulary that's actually useful for your life.
Exactly. Relevant words, not just academic lists you might never use.
And the focus on context seems really important, like how we learn our first language.
It mirrors it, yeah. Understanding how a word behaves in different situations. Asking yourself, how do I use this in a sentence? Where would I hear this? Does it change meaning slightly here or there?
They used opportunity as another example, right?
Yeah. Yes, showing its flexibility. A great opportunity to learn, an opportunity to travel, opportunities for growth. You see how versatile it is.
And each time you use it, you understand it a bit better.
Exactly. It becomes more natural, less like something you just looked up.
And just 1 word a day avoids that vocabulary overwhelm.
Totally. It feels achievable. You get a little win every day, which keeps you going.
They suggested tracking them too.
Yeah, maybe a notebook or an app. Write the word, write your example sentences, and maybe do a quick review at the end of the week. Just helps reinforce it.
So action steps for the listener on this one.
Okay. Pick 1 word today, something you think might be useful.
Got it.
Write it down, maybe look up its different uses. Then try to create at least 3 sentences with it that are relevant to you.
Okay.
And then the hardest part maybe, try to use it sometime today. Even just speaking to yourself, and review your weekly words.
It reframes vocabulary learning, doesn't it? Quality over quantity.
Definitely. Learning the right words and using them deeply, rather than just collecting thousands you barely know. Consistent small steps lead to big gains over time.
Excellent. Okay, habit number 4, writing simple English every morning, just 5 or 10 minutes. Can that really move the needle?
Again, the author presents this as surprisingly powerful. The focus isn't on perfection.
Not grammar checking.
Not primarily. It's more about the act of thinking in English and getting those thoughts out onto paper or screen, exercising that muscle.
Starting with just
Yeah.
whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, stream of consciousness almost.
Yeah.
What are my goals today? Today, I want to finish what happened yesterday. Yesterday, I went to, how am I feeling? Today, I feel excited. Just getting the English flowing.
Without worrying too much about errors.
Initially, yes. They mentioned feeling hesitant at first, wondering if it made sense or was full of mistakes. But the value came from organizing thoughts and, importantly, spotting the gaps.
So the writing reveals where you're weak.
Exactly. It acts like a diagnostic tool. You notice when a sentence feels wrong.
Like their example.
Yeah, writing, I want to be with my friends in this weekend. And realizing, that doesn't sound right. Then figuring out it should be this weekend.
So you self-correct.
You self-correct privately. Before those mistakes become fossilized habits in your speaking. It's a safe space to identify and fix things.
And it builds comfort with expressing yourself.
That's the idea. Getting comfortable thinking in English, finding the words, structuring sentences. Like flexing that English brain muscle, as they put it.
And you might notice patterns, too, like vocabulary gaps.
Right. If you keep writing about your job, you might realize you need more specific work-related words. Or if you write about family, maybe you look up more nuanced relationship terms.
It guides your learning.
It becomes a mirror, showing you where you are and where you need to grow. Self-discovery through writing.
And the writing itself improves over time.
They claim it does. Clearer thoughts, better sentence structure, smoother flow, just from that consistent daily practice.
And it doesn't take much to start.
Nope. Pen and paper, phone notes app, just a willingness to write for a few minutes. Length doesn't matter. Perfection doesn't matter.
So how can listeners start this?
Just aim for a paragraph or two each morning. 5, 10 minutes?
About anything.
Anything. Your day, your goals, your feelings, what you watched last night. Don't be afraid to look up a word if you need it and try using it.
And notice the tricky grammar bits.
Yeah, notice them, maybe look them up later, practice them, and accept the mistakes. They're learning opportunities.
The long-term benefits sound good. Better writing, more confidence.
More natural thinking in English, just overall comfort. It builds gradually without feeling like intense study. Consistency, not perfection.
Worth trying then. Just 5 minutes tomorrow morning.
Exactly. See how it feels after a week or two.
Okay, finally, habit number 5. Watching English with English subtitles. This one gets described as a game changer.
Yeah, a fundamental shift. A small adjustment switching the subtitle language, but with a huge difference, they say.
What were they doing wrong before?
Watching English shows, but with subtitles in their native language.
Okay. I think many people do that.
Very common. And you follow the plot, sure, but your brain isn't really processing the English audio because it's taking the easy route with the subtitles.
Right. You're essentially reading in your own language.
Exactly. So the big change was switching those subtitles to English.
So you're seeing and hearing English simultaneously.
Precisely. And that's where the magic apparently happens. You connect the sounds you hear with the words you see.
Helps with pronunciation, spelling.
Both. And understanding. You see how spoken words look when written. They used thought as an example, maybe hearing it versus seeing THOUGHT. It clicks.
That it wasn't instantly easy, I assume.
No, they admit feeling lost at first. Lots of new words popping up on screen. But the key was just sticking with it. Keep watching, keep listening, maybe hit rewind if a sentence was too fast or unclear.
Persistence again.
And they mentioned using the shadowing technique here too.
Repeating the lines.
Yeah, trying to say the sentences along with the actors. copying the intonation, the rhythm, the emphasis.
That sounds like great speaking practice embedded in listening.
It really is. Trains your mouth, improves fluency, makes you sound more natural.
And did they find their comprehension got better?
Definitely. Over time, they started understanding more and needing to rely on the subtitles less and less. That was the proof it was working.
And again, choosing enjoyable content is key.
Absolutely crucial for sticking with it. Netflix series, TED Talks, even cartoons, whatever keeps you engaged makes it feel less like study and more like entertainment with benefits.
Different types of shows offer different things too, right?
For sure. TV series are great for everyday, casual chat. You pick up slang, idioms.
Things like "What's up?" or "That's insane."
Exactly. Stuff you might not get in a formal lesson. Documentaries or TED Talks are good for more specific or formal vocabulary related to your interests.
Science, business.
Right. And cartoons or animated shows can be surprisingly good, especially for beginners. Clearer speech, often simpler vocabulary, and sentence structures.
And you can adjust the difficulty too.
Yeah, slow down the playback speed if needed, rewind, or speed it up for a challenge later on.
The main goal isn't understanding every single word, though.
No, they emphasize focusing on the general meaning. Immerse yourself. Don't get hung up on every unknown word initially. Let it wash over you a bit, aided by the subtitles.
So, how can listeners start this habit effectively?
Pick a show or video in English you actually want to watch.
Okay, enjoyment first.
Definitely. Turn on the English subtitles. Watch maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Listen carefully, read along. Pause, rewind if you need to catch something.
And try shadowing.
Give it a go. Try repeating some lines out loud, mimicking the speaker, and then maybe try watching a little bit with no subtitles at all. See how much you get.
Gradually weaning yourself off them.
Exactly. Remember, enjoyment keeps you going. The impact on listening, pronunciation, understanding it can be really profound, eventually maybe even leading to thinking in English without needing the visual crutch.
Okay, so that's the 5 habits. Just to quickly recap. Daily listening.
Speaking to yourself.
1 new word a day.
Daily simple writing.
And watching with English subtitles.
5 powerful habits, it seems. But it's crucial to remember, these aren't magic tricks.
No instant fluency.
No, they require time, patience, consistency, real effort over time.
Exactly. So the advice is probably to start small, right? Don't try to do all 5 tomorrow.
Absolutely. Pick one. Just one habit that feels like it might fit your style or address your current weakness. Try it today or this week.
See how it goes. Maybe add another one next week if you're feeling ambitious.
Yeah, fluency is a marathon, not a sprint. It's built bit by bit through that steady, persistent effort.
So, as a final thought for everyone listening, which one of these habits resonates most with you right now? And maybe think about one tiny specific action you could take right after this to put it into practice.